Coming up on Simple C10, we're going to install some custom cab trim on the side of our 1966 Chevrolet C10 named Lucky. We're going to use a custom made trim template, pull out the string, pop some lines, and drill some holes into the side of this truck. If you're trying to install trim, then stay tuned for this step-by-step installation. Hey, welcome back to Simple C10, everybody. We're getting ready to install this side molding and custom cab trim onto Lucky. I'm super pumped, and you may be thinking, Travis, bro, you got a haircut, didn't you? Yes, I did, because for 3 days, all I've had on my mind is trim. And we're gonna make it classy on this truck. The same way I got this slick back hairdo, we're gonna bring back the class and superiority to our 66 C10 named Lucky. So that's not all the dad jokes I got for today, so you better hang on for the ride. I made a post last night that was trim or no trim, and those results were overwhelmingly for trim, and you got it. Guess what? I planned on putting trim on this from the beginning. I purchased this trim a long time ago. I've got to have trim on all my Chevrolet C10s, especially the 60 to 66. It looks amazing. So that's what we're gonna do today. There's something about putting trim on these trucks that really just changes the overall look. But just check this out. When I put this trim on here, it really transformed how I view this truck, and it really took it to the next level. I knew it was gonna look good with trim, but just seeing it now really just gets me pumped. Every fleet side truck that I've owned has had this type of trim on it. But the crazy thing is, I've never installed this trim, and that's what brings me to this video. Is I went online to find a diagram because I ordered this trim from LMC. I unboxed it. There was no instructions, so I hopped on the old internet there and started looking up, and I said, surely there's got to be a diagram, a do-it-yourself video, something that can help explain exactly how to do this. And there wasn't. There was one guide that I found online. Here it is, check it out in all of its glory. But this thing is so blurry, you can't even read the measurements. So I took that document and I tried to make some notes and look on some other forums. And I even searched on YouTube for some videos of installing this. And there's a lot of videos of actually like popping in the trim, but there's none of how to measure and how to drill out the holes in the side of your truck. And that's the most important part, because anybody can take the trim and just pop it into the truck, but where is the line that you drill the holes, and how far apart do you drill them, and everything like that. And on the guide, I'll show you it here again. Just look at this guide. I don't even understand where the distance apart is. There's 2 or 3 numbers at the top and the bottom and a bunch of arrows pointing at stuff, but it doesn't really clearly tell you how far apart or what the hole size is. You can see right here, the big upper hole size is like 0.356 or something like that. It's in a decimal point. So there's a lot going on with this guide. That's when I started thinking somebody needs to design a template and record a do-it-yourself video of how to put this trim on. Somebody, anybody. Oh, I guess that's me. So here we are. That's what we're doing today. I know it's been a headache for a lot of people and stressful when you're drilling into your trucks. So I want to help be a solution to that problem. So I am designing a template on my computer. Here's just a quick glance at it. Don't screenshot it because it's not finished yet, but this is the overall design and kind of what it's going to look like. But I'm going to design that, and then I'm also going to show you step by step how to install the trim on your Chevrolet C10. This is for 62 to 66 trucks. That's what the molding is for. So I'm currently designing a template for you to use to install the trim on your truck that has all the measurements, the spacing, and it's easy and simple. You got it. To understand, because I want this stuff to be easy for people. You shouldn't have to decipher a 60-year-old owner's manual to know how to put trim on these trucks. So I've done a lot of research. I've messed around on this truck for a couple hours last night, taping up the trim and doing measurements. And I've done a lot of homework to be able to offer you guys a solution. I put a lot of time into this to make it right, and I'm going to walk you step by step on how to do this. But before I do that, hit the subscribe button. If you have yet to subscribe to this channel, this is the type of stuff that I do. I do air ride, LS swaps, trim, interior, you got it. So hit the subscribe button, give me a like, and show some support for the time and the energy I invest into trying to help you guys out. Before we dive into this, I wanted to let you know I'm gonna have the guide available once it's finished on my website, simpleC10.co. Check it out. You can also click the title to this video, click it, and it's gonna open up, and it's gonna have the links to the parts that I talk about, links to the website, and more information on this video. So thanks for watching. Let's hop into it. I'm going to catch you guys up on what I've done so far. So all of yesterday was pretty much me taking this trim, measuring from the body line, which is this line right here. If I mention body line, that's what I'm talking about. Measuring 1.5 inches down to the top of the trim. So from this line right here, 1.5 inches down, that is where all the top of your trim is supposed to be. So I measured that down. I took a couple pieces of tape on the front and back and made a little mark, and got my nice wife out here to help me hold up the trim and tape it on, and just did some measurements because I wanted to get all taped up here so I could measure from the line to the center of the trim where the clip would be, just to basically go into this fresh, as though I have no guide, which I really don't. I've got a really blurry one to go by, but just pretend that I have nothing to go by, put the trim up where I know it's supposed to go, and then do a lot of measurements. I took all those measurements and wrote them down in my handy dandy notebook right here, and I started coming up with some fractions. So I divided out what's half of the trim, what's half of the small trim, what's the height of the trim, how far does it go, how many clips did they give me. If they gave me 10 clips, how do I evenly divide those out? And basically ran off of no information and how much I think the clip should be spaced. And then I took those measurements and took all the information that I had compiled, and then I referenced back to the blurry instructions that I have to see if the numbers were close or if they were far off, or where can I make my adjustments. And then I compared those. I went back on the forums. I found a couple people that kind of installed trim themselves. There was a couple pictures with holes drilled with measurements. I wrote down their measurements. So basically what I did is took all the information available on the internet and what I compiled myself to make my own trim template. And that's what I'm going to use today, is just a design that I made on the computer. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to show you how to take a piece of string and a few measurements from my guide and get this trim installed on the truck. And I hope it's as easy as I just explained it, because I don't know yet. You see where I'm at. I haven't done anything yet. All I've done is tape some trim up there. It looks good taped up, but whenever I start popping lines and drilling holes, man, I'm gonna be sweating. You can probably tell I'm super pumped right now because this is the last step before Lucky is gonna go over to Taylor's Colors to get a fresh coat of paint. And I've shared this before. The paint under these lights and in this garage looks awesome, but around the top of the fenders, there's some paint flaking in the bottom of that door. There was a little bit of a bubble. So just little nitpicky stuff, and I want this truck to be top tier. So here's the plan moving forward. Since all the trim is up here, what I'm gonna do is take some tape, and I'm actually gonna tape the top and the bottom, above and below all the trim. So when I take the trim off, I'm left with tape lines, and I know exactly where the trim would be, so I can go in the center of that. I'm gonna use that to help me make sure my string is level on this side. And then when I get all the measurements and everything on the other side, I'm gonna show you how you can do it without doing all the tape and all the trim and everything like I did. So I hope on the other side, I will just have a couple measurements with the string. You follow those steps and you can knock this out in a couple hours, where it's taken me all this time to come up with my own design. So I hope this is helpful, guys. I hope this really helps the community. I hope somebody finds some value in that. That's the whole reason I do these videos. If you're not getting value out of it, it's fun for me, and it'll be a reference for me. So either way, it's a win-win, but thank you guys for watching. Ain't got no Viper. I got a Freaky Fit. Not sponsored. So you may be wondering, why did I just tape all this off? Well, the reason that I taped all this is because I'm going to use that as a guide for me to confirm my measurements on the template that I made. I'm hoping that at the end of this, you don't have to do all this taping and all the pre-work that I'm doing right now, but I wanted to show you my process a little bit. Taping up all the trim and then taping around the trim. You could have taped everything behind it and then put the trim on there and traced it or something like that, but I don't want to drill through any tape, because anybody that's drilled through tape before, sometimes it gets stuck on your drill bit, it dulls your drill bit. So what I want to do is tape on both sides of the trim. Then it's gonna, when I take the trim off of the truck, it's gonna give me bare paint of where the trim was. Then I'm gonna measure halfway down, use my measurements on my guide, and pop a string on both lines. The tape is gonna make sure that my string is straight, because I can reference those lines and measure and make sure everything is good. Hopefully by the time I'm done with this, you'll have your kind of 4 measurements of where to pop the line at. You can put the line on there, make your dots, and then drill in and pop your trim in. So this is part of the process. If you don't have a diagram or a do-it-yourself video, this is probably one of the methods that you would try to use to make sure you get this stuff right. But hopefully in the future, there'll be brighter days for a trim installation, because the old days of taping it up and marking it off and drilling holes multiple times is over, because trim days have come. Simple C10 Presidency 2029. Yes.
Hit somebody.
You hit somebody? Hey, who'd you hit?
I'm tricking.
Ah, you tricking. He's tricking. You silly boy. You got daddy. So I taped around all the trim. This is what it looks like right here. You can see the inside of the tape is where the trim goes. So like right there, trim, right there, trim. So it kind of gives you an idea of where the trim is going to go. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to run stripes of tape all the way down every probably 3 or 4 foot. And then I'm going to come in and mark my measurements on that tape. And the reason I'm doing that is I can use that as a reference point for my string. So when I take the string and I'm going to make a mark right here, and I'm going to tape that string right where that mark is, and it should be dead center right there. Then I'm going to go all the way up to the front and tape the string in the middle of that line. And then if everything lines up with my marks, then I know that's where I need to draw my holes. I'll do a string up top, then a shorter string in the center right here, all the way up to the door. So instead of just putting the string directly in the middle, I know it should go there. I'm going to take my measurements that I put on the template, and I'm going to measure down from this body line and confirm that my measurement matches up with the center of where the line should be. If it does, then I know I've got good measurements. I'll do that for the door, for the bed, and for everything. And then this side is kind of like a test. I want to make sure my measurements and everything that I have on the guide is correct. If everything lines up correctly over here, then I know I can go to the other side and just measure down, pull 2 pieces of string, and then drill the holes without putting the trim up there, taping it off, pulling the tape off, doing all that kind of stuff. This is one way, if you're just not sure, you're like, man, I just don't want to get this wrong. I'm afraid that if I just put a piece of string on there and put the dots that it won't be right. Tape up all your trim the same way I did. Tape it up there and then tape out around it, and you'll know exactly where it goes. Or just put 2 or 3 pieces of tape as wide as this all the way down, just all the way down, and then tape your trim on top of it and trace your trim and do all your measurements and stuff on there. That's one way to do it as well. Lots of different ways to do it, but I'm hoping that the guide will allow you just to do it quickly and efficiently without taking all day to tape it up and everything like that. Especially, I mean, maybe you work at a big shop and you've never done this and you need it to be quick and efficient. I'm hoping that the trim template can be for professionals and do-it-yourself people that'll actually be a resource for the industry. Just a glance of part of the guide that I'm making. You can see that up here it says 1.5 inch to the body line. So it shows you from the body line to the top of the trim, 1.5. And then the second line shows you 2 3/16 from the body line to the center of the top drill line. So that is centered right here. So I measured the trim, got half of that and added it to 1.5, and that gave me 2 3/16. So we can measure 2 3/16 and see if that is the center of the drill line. If it is, that's where we're going to have the tape taped in the center of this trim. And then on the green one, you'll measure from the body line all the way to the center of the lower drill line, which is the smaller trim. That would be 4 11/16. So I'm showing you exactly how to measure to confirm that you have everything. And then your total height from top of the trim to bottom of the trim is 3.5. So that's a way to verify. So using the guide, we're at 1.5, which is right. And then it should be 2 3/16. So 2, I'm going to go to the end, 2 3/16, which is about right there. That is 2 3/16 right here. That is going to be where we put our line. So we'll put our string, we'll tape the string back here right on that line, pull it tight, and it should match up with all these lines through all the vertical tape. Now you've got to the trickiest part, because as you can see right here on the bed and the door, there's a nice line that you can go by. But on here, it's really, really hard to know where to measure from. I want to tape the string on the back, pull it really tight to the front, and when I think I have it pretty close, I'm going to tape it to the front, and then I'll go through and see if that string is on my line all the way. If it is, I'll come through and mark my center. With me right now, I could take the center of this and I kind of know where it's at, but on the other side, I'm not going to have any of this tape. I'll only have these reference lines and a measurement to go by. So I'm going to use this as a test. I'm going to go ahead and tape that string on the other side, pull it tight, and let's see what we're working with. Here's a string that I'm using. I got this from Hobby Lobby for $3.99. I'll link one in the description from Amazon or something. But any string that you can pull tight without it breaking will work. And I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot in the end right where I'm going to tape it up. Then I'm going to tape it right on that line. Make sure you tape this down where the line doesn't move, because this is a really important measurement. Go ahead and stick a piece on it like that. And tape it a little back so I can see the black line. So right there's the line. Just push on it really, really good. And usually one piece will hold it. This is pretty good tape right here. But that is for the back right there. Got it taped right on the line. Remember, I'm just trying to pull it tight and line it up with those black marks that we made on the tape to see where center is on the front. And it should be right where I made this point. So you want to pull the line a good strength. Just from eyeballing it, it looked like that's where the line was. And if you follow it down to the reference tape, you can see it's right on it. You want to get down at eye level to look at it straight on. But check that out. The line is right behind it. I mean, it's right on it. Right on it. Right on it. Right on it. And boom. Remember, those first two pieces up here didn't have a line on them, but by pulling this string straight, I kind of kept my eye on the line that's in the door. And when I saw it was pulled straight and lined up with that line, then I just taped it down and then confirmed, and boom, we've got our line. The bottom measurement is the green. It's going to be 4 and 11/16. 11/16 is 3 marks past a half. 2, 3. We've got our line marked up here, so I know the back one's right, the front one right here. I'm going to pull it as tight as I can. Once I get this line pulled really tight, I want to make sure it stays there, because that's going to be my guide for making the marks to drill the holes. Great. So now we just come in and we measure and we put our dots on here of where to drill. I'm going to go through and just use a magic marker and measure using my guide all the dots that we need. I've hopped over to the driver's side of the truck, and now I'm going to show you the process that you'll take with my trim template. So we're going to start by taking some tape, whatever size that you have, and we're going to tape from the actual line down just about 6 inches, just strips of tape here and then all throughout, going up about every 3 foot or something like that. It doesn't matter how much, but vertical lines of tape from the back of the truck all the way to the front of the truck. And we're going to use that. That way when we measure, we can make the lines the same way that we did to know where to put the string at. So let's start out by grabbing the tape, taping those out all the way to the front. Then we'll use our template and then make some marks and then pop the line the same way that we did the other side. And I'll walk you through that. We're going to take our trim template and we're going to measure down from the body line to where we're going to pop that string, and it's going to be 2 3/16. Let's go ahead and measure all the top lines, 2 3/16. Now the bottom mark is going to be 4 11/16. Mark that. We've got our 2 marks all the way up. Now that we have the marks, we'll put the string. We'll start with the top one back here and pull it tight all the way to the front. And when that line matches up with all the other lines, we'll tape it and we'll know what that front line is supposed to be. Because right now we don't have marks on that front line, and then we'll verify everything. Then we'll come through, we'll do the bottom line, and I'm going to pull that bottom line all the way up to right here. Then I'll come back through and use that piece of trim and kind of outline it to know where to do the little up piece right there. I like to tie a double knot in it right here, the line. And like that, right there. Really push down, kind of get in the groove so it doesn't go up and down. There we go. I can kind of, from up here, I can see, I'm really just trying to get it lined up with that first black mark that I see that's on the door right there. If I can get it on that one, then I'm pretty happy with where everything is going to line up. I'm going to tape it right here. Top line looks really good. Something to keep in mind whenever you're doing this, sometimes if your bed and your cab and fenders aren't all aligned correctly, then it's going to throw off your measurement. So just make sure whenever you're measuring to have good measuring points, because if you know that something's off a little bit, then the measurement's going to be off. But that's what's good about doing it with the string. If you have the right measurement on the back and you get it level on the front and pull it really tight, then the line is going to be the same even if your body's off some. Now you want to try to adjust everything correctly first. You don't want to do the trim and then start adjusting your body mounts and then everything is going to be jacked up. But I know this truck is as close as I can get it with how the body and the fenders and everything lines up. It's hard to get all these perfect, but I'm happy with where it's at. Feel like in pictures especially, you can see everything lines up pretty good. I made some slight adjustments to the door and now everything is good. So make sure your body and cab and fenders and everything is aligned exactly how you want it, and then do the lines. Really happy how all the string turned out. It's really good. I'm glad that I kind of mocked up the trim and taped and everything just for peace of mind. That way when I'm telling you guys like the measurements and how to do it, that I feel good about it. And I like that I was able to go on the other side, on the driver's side, and do it exactly like the steps that I would tell you to do it and how I would do it in the future. Is just do those measurements, pop the lines, and that's going to be it. So we're at the point now, we're getting ready to mark where all the holes go. So I took what the blurry diagram gave me and kind of wrote that down on paper, but then I just went over to the truck and I started measuring from the door. If I started out with a 2-inch gap and then 7.5, so I took the information that I had, but then I kind of made an executive decision of where to space this trim. And I know the most important part is that they're not spaced too far apart. So I feel like my spacing keeps everything kind of tight together, but even where some of the blurry directions Like it had 10 on some of it and then down to 7 and then 10, and some of it just didn't make sense. So I tried to come up with a much easier to read and easier to plan for the bed strips. And I'm going to be the guinea pig here. I'm going to drill the holes and pop the trim in, and we'll see where we get from there. So I've updated the bed measurements. As you can see on here, I've got them going 2 inches off of the front, and then 7.5 all the way to the very end. That puts you about 2 inches from the end of the bed. I've got, the instructions we use to pop the line, the back of the cab, kind of where those lines are. And then I've also, just on paper right now, I've got the door measurements and the fender measurements. I'm going to take those measurements and I'm going to make a nice little guide like this one whenever I get the truck finished. That's it. I'm going to take those measurements that I have written down. I'll explain those on this video, but check out the website. I'll say it again in case you forgot it, simpleC10.co. Check out the website or click the title of this video, drop it down, and I'm going to have a template available for you. All I ask is, hey, I went through all this work for the template. Subscribe to the channel, share it, like it right now, post a comment. Thanks, Travis. Something like that to show your support. And that's all I really need. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. Let's go ahead and measure, dot the holes, and then zzz, it's time to drill. Okay, we're going to start off with a fender, and I tried to make this as easy as possible. So we're going to go 3 inches off the edge of the fender right here, and then go 10, 10, 10, 10, 5. So I'll recap those after I make the measurements right there. So we're going to do 3 off the edge, 13, 23, 33, 43, 5 over from 43, which is 48. We're going to go 2 off of the edge and then 7.5 the rest of the way. 2, and then 9.5, 17, 24.5, 32, and the bottom, we're going to start with 2, and then we're going to go 7s. 2, 9, 16, 23. From 23, we're going to go 3 over, 24, 25, 26, and then 1.25 inches up. So 26 is right here, and 1.25 inches from the line on 23 is right there. So that's right where that part goes up. Now for the bed, we're going to go 2 off the edge and then go 7.5 all the way. And it's going to be the same for the bottom. 2 from the edge. 9.5. 17 and then 24.5. 32 and then 39.5. 47, 54.5, 62, 77. All right, here we go. So here's the process that I'm going to use. Is I'm going to use my punch. I'm going to punch all these holes. And then I'm going to come back with a pilot drill bit and drill a pilot hole, then drill the holes. Woo, one hole. Golly, this is probably the most nerve-wracking thing that I've ever done. I've got a 1/4 inch bit. I'm going to go ahead and drill all these to 1/4 inch. The way you clip this in, just like this. Like that. You can still slide it, so you can slide it in place. And go ahead and on these I can just bolt it in from the back side. I don't have all the clips in and everything, but I do have all the holes drilled and a couple of the clips in, and everything lines up. It needs tightened up. You know, everything is just kind of loose in there right now. I would recommend getting more of the clips that actually bolt the clip in. I'm probably going to order those while this truck is at the paint shop. I'm going to order more of the twist in, bolt in. Main thing is, what I wanted to do is just clip them in and make sure nothing was crazy off. As long as it's close enough, I can adjust it and get all of them to kind of match up together. And I wanted to confirm all my measurements were good. That was another important thing, because if I'm going to put out, you know, a guide with specific measurements and stuff, if they're not right on, I don't want to share it. This is one of those things though, if you're looking to buy a truck and you see one you like and you're like, well, it don't have trim, I'll just add trim to it. Hey, keep that in mind. There's a lot of work to this, and a large percentage of you could mess up, and nobody likes to mess up, cause themselves a bunch of money and time. So keep that in mind. Just buy a truck with trim, especially if it's done right. If all the trim is straight, then that is definitely a benefit to have all the trim already done for sure. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is why we do trim. I don't have it clipped in all the way. It's kind of just pressed in there with a couple clips on the front and back. But man, I'm very happy with how all the trim ended up. It looks right on, looks even. It's awesome. One side is done. I've just got it kind of clipped in there right now, not perfect, just with a couple little clips, not even bolted down really good. Just wanted to give a quick kind of look. I was really worried about the modern kind of style wheels clashing with the classic trim, but man, I don't know. I'm loving it. I'm loving that it's a little bit different. It's not too wild. I think the chrome really ties in. Kind of the spoke look is the same as the trim, so I really think it complements each other. Heck yeah. Dude. Yeah, the trim with the chrome trim in the bed. It's a lot of chrome, but it's not too much. I really feel like it's just enough chrome where you're not trying too hard, because it's all the classic chrome that you get. The bumper, the trim, around the tail lights, the bed. Like, I don't even like chrome, quote unquote, that much. Like, I don't like when you go crazy with chrome, but on these classic trucks, when you just work in what was already chrome and just clean the truck up, man, look at that. I've got to bolt in that custom trim, but yes. That is a wrap for today, and the passenger side, I couldn't be happier with it. It looks awesome. So tomorrow, I'm gonna go and we'll do the driver's side the same exact way. I'm not changing up anything. Gonna drill those holes right along the string. I've got to mark the holes on this side. I haven't done that yet. I'll go over the measurements one more time, but make your marks, drill the holes, pop this trim in, and then let's get this truck over to paint for the final paint job on it. Get rid of some of the imperfections. I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but right in the back here, there's a dent. There was a little bit of pitting down at the bottom and some flaking paint on the front. You can see it right here, all along the front, just flaking paint. A lot of people would be like, man, just leave that alone. No, it was not prepped under it and it was sprayed, and it's gonna flake off and just end up not looking that good. So this is Lucky. Lucky's lucky day. He's gonna get sprayed again. And the door jambs, right now the door jambs are a different color. Check that out. That's another thing. You open the door jambs and it's nasty. Nasty door jambs. So that will get painted. So door jambs. And I'm gonna leave that small back window. There's no way I'm gonna cut out that back window and then have to paint the interior. Like the cutting right here of a big back window is nothing. Like that seems the easy part. But when you have to replace this panel right here, cut it out, grind it out, and then weld it in and paint it and everything, like this interior already looks good. And big back window is not a huge thing for me. I love them, but if they already have them, or if the inside is patina that I plan on painting and it'd be easier than painting the whole truck again on the inside, then I might do that. I have considered it on the 60. If you're watching this and you think I should do big back window on the 60 Apache, let me know. But I was kind of thinking that's going to be a patina, kind of a rough truck, and it should look like a work truck. Big back window is more of a kind of a classy look. We're getting ready to start on this other side. One thing that I did is I went through and carefully put tape over the line right where it was without moving it, just taped it down everywhere that I had tape. That way when I'm measuring and I'm drawing the line, I can get right on that line and it won't move anything. It's kind of locked in where it's at. So to mark the fender, the first measurement we're going to do is 3 inches off of here. So we're just going to do that. And remember, the placement of these doesn't have to be perfect as long as it's close. You don't have to get down there and put it right on the money, but we want it to be evenly spread out. And this one is kind of important because you reach behind the fender, it's hard to reach back here to get a screw on it. That's why I put this one out a little bit further, because I can reach and get a nut on the back side of this. We're going to go every 10 inches. So 13, 23. Yes, with the taped down string, it's so much easier just to make sure you're getting it right. And then the last one is 48. When you get to the door, remember you start on the back side of the door and go this way. It's 2, 9.5, 17, 24.5, 32, And this last one is going to be 7, which would be 39. So we got the top ones done. On the bottom, we're going to go out 2, the same, and then every 7. So you're going to have 2, and then 9, 16, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 23. And that's all we're going to have right there, because this is where the trim's going to go up. And I'm actually going to drill all the holes, hold the piece of trim up there, and get a accurate measurement on where to do this. The other side I drilled right there, and it actually worked out, but it was real close, and I want to just make sure that this little piece is on there correctly, so we can go back, hold the piece of trim up there, and mark where we need it exactly, because this trim can move back and forth to get it level with the back side, and we want to make sure that our drill hole there is good. I'm going to go 1 inch off of the edge. Top and bottom. And we're going to go over to 2.5. Last is the bed. Here we're going to go 2 over from the edge. And then every 7.5. 9.5, 17, 24.5, 32, 39.5, 47, 54.5, 62, 69.5, 77. We'll go ahead and start with this front fender piece. That way we know where the front little spike piece goes. We'll start out with this front fender piece right here. There's some slight damage to it, so I'm not really happy with LMC, but I'm going to go ahead and mock everything up and get that replaced later on. But those mount in with these style clips right here. These are going to just slide in and then pop in. There's 3 different style clips. You've got a big kind of push-in style, a small push-in style, and then these that bolt in with a nut on the back side with the felt. And the way that these go in is like this right here. You're going to slide in the bottom like this, just like that right there, and then you're just going to push in the top like that, and then it clips in. Not much to it. You can still slide these to wherever you need them. So I'm just going to pop 2 of them in there and put this on the fender and then get a nut started on the back side. On the front fender piece, you're going to leave the open spot toward the front because that's where your little spike piece is going to slide in. They give you 4 regular bolt-in style clips and then 1 push-in clip, and that push-in clip goes back here because it's hard to get your hand back there to get a nut on the side. Now we'll put on the front piece. We'll just slide it into the front, and then it's got a bolt-on style as well. So you just want to kind of hold it up there. You'll see how much it slides in, and then adjust your clip kind of where right there is going to be close. Slide it in. Next we have the upper door piece, and this door piece actually only came with the large clip-in style clips. So I'm going to order extra of those threaded ones that I can put a nut on the back side to put one on the front and one on the back to bolt them in, or one in the center. Somewhere I can bolt it in, but for now I'm just going to use the push-in style clips that they sent with the kit. These clips right here, they're going to go in like this, and you have to slide them in through the track. And I found out if you take this felt, just go ahead and slide that felt off for now. We can put it back on there. With the felt out, you can slide these in, and you'll want to make sure that you put this clip in there with this toward the top, with the clip toward the top. It just slides in there. Push it with your hand. Now this can slide. This is what I was saying. With these clips adjustable like this, as long as your upper and lower holes are straight, then you can slide these wherever you need to pop them in. And the spacing that I've chosen is plenty enough that there won't be any warps or, you know, any sag in the trim or anything. So if your lines are off left to right a little bit, don't worry about it. As long as they're correct height and spacing, it's all going to look good. I'm just going to put one in that end. Whenever you get the clip in there, you can go back and just slide your felt, and you'll want to push that felt all the way in the trim. Don't let it stick over. Just push it in so it's flush with it. Do the same thing for the other side. Okay. So this little indentation spot, that's not a dent, that's actually made for the door, so it clears it when you open the door. That goes toward the front. So you always want it like this. We'll go over here and we'll line up these 2 clips. Again, I'm going to push this trim close to the back of the door to pull it further away from that crease. You don't want it right on the front of the door because then the door will smash it when you open it. So I like to always line up the back of my trim to where I want it on the back side, and that keeps everything kind of even. Front clip where I want it, and then I'm just going to push them in. we go. Next piece is the lower door trim, and it's the skinnier trim, and it comes with the smaller clip. These are the style clips that it comes with, and these slide in the same way. Remember, we're going to orient the clip toward the top. That will keep everything uniform. See these little grooves right here? That's where you're going to slide in the clip, and it just slides in like that. You can see there's a lot of adjustment in it. Make sure your felt's tucked. If it's not, then it'll stick the trim out. Here's the two cab corner pieces. Now they send you the bolt-in style clips on here, and that works great if you can get to them. Well, I didn't think. I've got the stereo system, and I'm not about to unbolt all that stuff to get to the screws right here. So on the other side, what I did is I took two of these push-in and two of the small push-in and just popped it in there. And since it's such a small piece, these little connections worked really great on the other side. So I'm going to try to do the same thing on the driver's side. That way I can pop these off easily and not have to get into the cab corner and remove all my stuff. Another way, you could double sticky these. A lot of people in the comments have said like, hey, double sticky. We've done that once. Zach from RS Restorations, he stayed up till like 3 o'clock in the morning right before C10 to get black dice ready. And he did a great job with that. But with this truck, I just wanted to show like how to drill the holes and how to mount on the stuff. So I'm going to go ahead, do the same process we've been doing. Get two small clips, two big clips, and then we will get this thing on there, and we will wrap up with the trim, and we'll move to the cab sails, the sail panels that go on the back of the cab. So on these pieces, you would think at first glance that this would go down and wrap around the cab, but it actually goes like this and goes up. And once you put it on the cab, you'll realize, oh yeah, that's how it goes because it fits the shape. I tried to do the other side like this, and it just didn't fit the shape of the cab. So this is how it goes right here. If you're not sure, just kind of mock it up and look at it, and you'll know just by looking at it that it looks good. So with this angled up, we're going to install these clips oriented toward the top. And these are tricky because you have to wiggle this clip into this little bracket, and it's real tight. So a trick to doing that is you can bend, see how this clip has a slight bend to it, bend it further so it's less like this and more like this, and it will shorten the clip just a little bit. But I'd rather it be really tight than make it too small and make it loose. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to pry these in here just like that right there. Do the same thing for the other side, and we'll just adjust it the same way. Turned out great to just be quickly mocked up right here. I don't even have all the clips in, but everything is lining up beautifully. Straight. Heck yeah, straight as an arrow right there, man. That's what you want. That's the most nerve-wracking part is, man, I hope I get this straight. But with the trim template, using the string, it's going to turn out awesome. Both sides turned out really good. After it gets back from paint, I will put all the clips in and clip it in, and I'll be even more nervous then putting trim on a freshly painted truck. I might get a buddy over here to say, hey, hold that end of the trim. I don't want to scratch this up. But the front point, I wanted to make sure it matched the fender and was on the same side on both sides. Yep. That's a wrap on the trim part. Now it's time to install this custom cab trim that's right here. So this is called sail panels, and the way that they're going to install is they're going to screw in to the pillar, screw into the back of the cab, and then there's a little bracket that screws in to the part right here. It's going to screw in right there that the sail slides into to keep it from flapping on the back side. So this should be a lot quicker, but I'm still going to take my time and get this installed, and then let's check out this truck. Thanks for staying tuned if you're still here. I know it's a longer video, but I wanted to go into enough detail to really try to answer all the questions on the front end that you may have. But let's grab these sails and get to drilling. So one of the finishing touches to this custom cab trim is your sail panels right here. So I've just got them taped up here just so you get an idea of what they look like. But I really like how they look. It really sets off the cab. It's just one of those custom things that makes it look like a classic truck. When you've got all the moldings down the side with the custom cab trim, it just looks really good. So we're getting ready to mark our holes. There's going to be a hole right here that screws into the back of the cab. There's 2 holes that screw into the door jamb. And then there's a mounting bracket that goes behind this that this slides into to keep this from flopping around up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw this in, and then I'm going to mark the edge right here with some tape, and then measure the inside lip of this, and then go in just a little bit. That way I know that I'm clamping this onto that metal piece on the back. What I can do is put the metal piece on there and just tape it on there, then slide this on the way that it would hook on. If everything seems like it's secure, I can go back and put the 2 screws in it. So that's what I'm going to do. There's not much to this, but I did just want to include this in on the video because a lot of people, when they add the trim, they'll add the sail panels, and it just kind of finishes off the look. We're going to start off with these 3 screw holes right here. So we will push it in there, get it mocked up. I'll put a piece of tape over it to lock it in. Then I will screw in these 3 screws first, because those kind of will help determine where the rest of everything bolts up. Straight up be drilling holes in everything. It's almost a quarter of a lip. So there we go. Tape it out. Put that metal piece right at the spot where you taped it out, and bolt her up. Bolt her up. You want to put it closer to the top because the top is the part that's going to be loose right here. So you can go as far up as you want. I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap right there, but that's all there is to it. Screw in the back, little bracket, it's in there tight. Screws in the front, easy peasy.